Watch until the end and you too can learn how to create passive income. Welcome back to another Tycoon Jack video. I'm going to be talking about creating passive income and side hustle income. I'm going to be revealing my sources, how much I make, and how you too can earn. The methods in this video range from difficult to easy, capital intensive to free. If you want to learn how to invest and to make money, subscribe to Tycoon Jack. The methods in this video are substantial forms of income. I'm not talking about small credit card points, $1 to $2 here or there. No, we're talking about decent income sources, money for the real world. So you're not going to see surveys or credit card point or sign up bonuses. So I'm going to break this video down into two different parts: side hustle income and passive income. Let's start with side hustle income. Primary side hustle has been flipping used products. This is now my side hustle, but it used to be my primary source of income. My average revenue in the last year for this business has been $484 per week, but that's the average revenue throughout the year. I started this side hustle in 2019, but it really blew up in 2020. Throughout the coronavirus pandemic, I was making thousands of dollars in revenue per week. In fact, there was so much demand I actually ran out of product to sell. But these days, it's just a side hustle that I have, as business has slowed down and I have a primary source of income through a job. To get started in this business is quite simple. It's just a matter of finding the right product to sell. What I would advise for that is to find something that you're interested in and something that you have knowledge in already. Don't get involved with something just because it has money to be made but you have no knowledge of the product itself. I've thought the same way, and that disinterest has really screwed me up when it comes to dealing with problems that the product might have. Someone with knowledge in that category of product might be able to repair it, whereas I would have to outsource it to a third party to repair the product, whether it's a handbag or technology or a car. Do something that you believe in. But it really is not that complicated. It's just a matter of finding the right product, taking a photo of it, describing it, putting it on a platform like eBay or Etsy or Facebook Marketplace. I like to keep it as simple as possible. I like to know the average market price, and then I just simply find products below that average market price in categories that I am interested in. It's this side hustle that has made me over $100,000 in revenue online and tens of thousands of dollars in profit. Not only that, it enables you to get access to business deductions on things like your vehicle expenses and rental income, so you can lower your tax burden, whereas you wouldn't be able to do so with just regular income source from a job, at least here in New Zealand. Now, this is actually a business that you can start with very little money. You can just start small, like I did, and bootstrap it and grow the business and keep reinvesting into it until it grows and grows and grows. I only started with a few $100s invested into this business, and I just kept reinvesting because I could afford to do so. It's this side hustle which has given me a great understanding of business and what's in demand and what to do and what to avoid. I've had a lot of thoughts and experimented throughout the years and tried different things. It's like a practical real-world example of business, and it is very much a real business. Because of this business that I feel like I have a decent understanding of economics, business, and all things really financially related. It's given me a great confidence and ability to know what to do and the right questions to ask. This is also called flipping. There is a community on Reddit called r/flipping where they discuss ways to make money with flipping products online. The second major side hustle that I have is something called cabin rentals. Now, this is a New Zealand specific thing, but with the rise of the tiny home movement all over the Western world, it's something that people in other countries can also do themselves, whether you're in Australia or the United States or Canada, countries where they have the tiny house movement. New Zealand has these things called portable sleep out cabins. I'll put a video up showing you what they look like, but really they're just like an extra bedroom or portable office space. It's just a transportable building where it's not fixed to the ground. And New Zealand building regulations allow for them to be built up to 30 square metres. So that means as long as you have the yard space, you can move and put these portable buildings on people's yards and they'll sleep in it or use it for office space or for storage. Something I've always been interested in, especially as I've always wanted to invest in property, but because New Zealand is so expensive, the bar to entry for real property is quite expensive and difficult to obtain, as you need the deposit, then you need the income to then service the mortgage. But this is a much lower bar to entry, and it is renting out the buildings. I was just looking around on Facebook. One day I found one of these buildings to purchase, so I went to have a look. It wasn't a scam, so then I made the offer to buy it. Once I bought the cabin, I immediately took my own photos, went to Facebook, and then created my own marketplace listing where I offered the cabin for rent for $50 per week. Purchased the cabin for $3,500, so that's a decent return on investment. So it's very much like rental income in the conventional sense. You're dealing with something at a smaller scale in all regards, so less income than a conventional house, but you're not dealing with debt, mortgages, or regulations. So I did this 3 times, and I've rented the cabins out to 3 different people. The average rental income is $50 per week per cabin, so that's $150 total for very easy income where I'm not involved day to day. You just have to worry about moving the cabins, where I've had to hire a crane to get these cabins into the property, but there are some available where you're able to just tow it in and drive it on the road, but it depends on the building and the type that it is. Again, I like to keep these businesses simple. I like to just get rid of as many steps as possible and go to first principles. What are the ways that you can get started? Just look for these products and buildings and services that you can purchase. They are out there. You don't have to get all complicated and get lawyers involved and think that it's only advertised to an exclusive club that you're not privy to. That's not how it works. Everyone has the chance to purchase. That doesn't just apply to my own side hustle, but other forms of businesses, real estate, office space, factory equipment, for example. Everyone can get started in business and be a good entrepreneur. It's just a matter of actually getting started and actually doing it. Continuing on from selling used items and flipping these items, I made about $1,000 throughout the year just reselling items from AliExpress. So that goes to show that it's not difficult to source, and there are products out there as long as you test the market and look for decent price items that will sell. If you go for the lowest common denominator, let's say phone chargers or phone cases, then of course you're not going to succeed. But if you find a decent product worth a decent amount of money, then you too can make revenue selling these items and produce a profit. It's as simple as it seems. I just went to AliExpress, looked for items that I'm interested in that I think would sell quite well, and then I resold them here. What I did differently is that I talked about the warranty I would offer, because I do have to offer a warranty in New Zealand, that's the law. I did a little bit of copywriting, taking my own photographs so they can't reverse search the product as easily, talking about how it's sold in New Zealand, warehoused here, and that it's only going to take a few days for them to receive the item. So it's a little bit of work, but in the grand scheme of things, it really isn't. Now, it hasn't always worked out for me. Not every product I've sold has been the perfect product which has produced lots and lots of money, but I've certainly had more successes than failures in this regard. And also, this is something where you can make a decent amount of money, again, with not much starting capital, and you could actually start to make $50, $100, $150 per week on average doing it, as long as you keep growing the business and experimenting. You just have to keep putting yourself out there. But it's not even about the product, so to speak. The more you offer, the more opportunities for people to buy. Now, I just want to talk about a little experiment that I did. On eBay, I purchased a brand new Seiko Sports 5 Pepsi watch. Very nice watch. $350 New Zealand, including tax. I purchased this item at the average market price for a new watch, so I wasn't getting a great deal or wholesaler bargains. But I was able to sell this watch in New Zealand for $450. So that goes to show that you don't need to find the right product or niche or have a wholesaler to still make money. By no means is this a great profit. It's only $100 in net income, but it goes to show how many opportunities are out there on the internet. This was the only time where I did sell a watch, and I believe that if I'd sold more, I'd actually do quite well. I decided it wasn't my niche, so I decided to only keep it at that one. But it does go to show it's not about where you source or whether you need a wholesaler. There are opportunities to make money out there. And now for my fourth source of side hustle income, OnlyFans. This part of the video is going to be talking about my passive sources of income. This isn't side hustle income, as there is no effort involved. It's just income made from my capital, so investment and interest income. This is the simplest to set up and maintain, as you don't have to do anything besides save money and contribute that capital into investment platforms. My total passive income is $154 per week on average. I get to this figure through two different sources: capital appreciation from investing, dividends, and then finally interest income from savings. So those are the different ways that you too can build passive income. Disclaimer, it is quite capital intensive, so I would recommend side hustle income sources to begin with, and then later on, as you build up capital and have excess capital, that you're able to then create passive income. It's better to do a side hustle than to also start out with passive income, as trying to get passive income from $1,000 isn't really going to do much for you. It's only $100 per year, $2 per week. What's the point of doing that when with side hustle income and the methods I've described earlier in this video, you can do a lot better in the short term. So I have $22,156 invested in my KiwiSaver, which is invested in the S&P 500. The average growth for the S&P 500 since the 1950s is about 10.3% per annum, averaged out. But that's not accounting for things like inflation, and that also includes the dividends from the S&P 500 investment. It's just $44 of capital appreciation. KiwiSaver is the New Zealand equivalent of a tax advantage savings account for retirement, but it can also be used for a house deposit. But America and Australia and the UK all have different equivalents. Australia has superannuation, America has the Roth IRA, the UK has ISAs, not ISIS. But the advantage of contributing to your retirement account, whether it's KiwiSaver or whatever the local equivalent is in another country, is that you typically get an employer match, tax advantages, or perhaps a tax credit directly for making contributions, which is how I was able to build up such a good amount of KiwiSaver, as the government here contributes about $520 per year. The employer I work for matches my 3% contributions, which is about 6% in total. So you can see that how over the years, and especially with the recent bull market, I have been able to accumulate a decent KiwiSaver. It's only taken off since 2020. Luck has been on my side in that regard. Outside of my KiwiSaver, I have a further $49,785 invested in the S&P 500. The only thing different to my KiwiSaver investment of the S&P 500 is that this isn't locked down to retirement or a house deposit or hardship. This is my own money outside of that lock. The average capital appreciation and dividends which I receive from this sum is $5,142 on average throughout the week. That works out to be capital appreciation and dividends from the S&P 500 of $98.89 per week, with no effort whatsoever. Again, this isn't all that hard to actually get started with. The hard part is having the capital to deploy. Finally is my interest income from saving. I have $9,864 invested in a money market account. So this is just invested in bonds and different types of deposits, and it's very much like a savings account, but it does have more risk. The upside is that you're not locked down like a term deposit. The 1 year yield for the money market account or / cash fund, which I have my $9,800 invested in, is 4.8%, and that is with Simplicity, which is just a local New Zealand one. This is available in different countries, just under different names and businesses offering it. The average amount I earn from this is only $9.20, so it's not that great, but it does have the advantage of not being locked like a term deposit, and I can withdraw it when I need be, pending a few business days for processing. I have the same setup going on, just with a different website, Kernel, which also holds my S&P 500 investments. I use their money market account to hold about $3,100. Their 1-year yield is 3.59%. Throughout the year, that only works out to be $113 per annum, so not that great. Nothing to write home about, really. Which works out in total, including the other money market account income, to be $11.38 per week. For a bonus, I want to talk about my historical side hustle income source, which is writing books, eBooks, and selling them online on forum. The reason why I bring this up is to prove the point that you don't need income to get started. Now, by no means was this a fantastic income source, and we're not talking about thousands and thousands of dollars. This is something that I mentioned in previous videos. The way I began was just using Google Docs, creating a description on the forum, and then offering it for sale. There are platforms out there which take payment and then serve out the file automatically for download. One random good week I'm going to mention is that I made $56 selling these ebooks on a forum. So it goes to show that you don't need to have much traffic, you don't need to have Instagram or AdSense advertising. All that was for free. Creating the book was free, it just all involved my time. But people out there who just are full of excuses and reasons to not get started with ways to make money online. I have a great confidence and self-belief in making money online, as I've done it throughout my teenage years, and then I have the reselling business, as I mentioned. If not for the internet, I wouldn't know how to invest and have my passive income, which I've also mentioned. By no means was it an instant success, but I just kept trying and putting more out there. The key point I want to drill home to people is that you just have to actually have a buy button for people to purchase. If you have no buy button, how are people supposed to give you income? So really, the secret sauce is just having products out there to sell. OnlyFans best exemplifies that people do understand this fundamentally. It's not even about OnlyFans, so to speak, but it's the only website and platform out there that people understand that you can make money from nothing. It's just people uploading photos and videos of themselves and selling it on OnlyFans behind a paywall. But why does it have to be OnlyFans when it can be other types of platforms out there? It can be YouTube, it can be Instagram, you can sell on Etsy and eBay and do the same thing.